Hello, everybody, and this is Sports Chat with DJ Matt here on YouTube. I'm DJ Matt, as always. DJ Echo is here.
What up?
Yes, remember to like, subscribe, comment here on this video. It's going to be a good video. I can already feel it. All right, so the big news, like we all expected, Julio Jones has finally been traded out of Atlanta. Sadly, it's to the Titans. Poor my coach.
Sadly, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, for you, never mind.
But I can't deny that it is a good fit, though. I mean, that's a good offense. But their defense still kind of sucks. So they still got to address that. I feel like, but still, I think this is a good move. That obviously AJ Brown was begging literally for the Titans to do this, and I think a lot of the Titans players feel the same way. And I think Ryan Tannehill uh, revitalized his career. I guess that's the word to use. In Tennessee after being in Miami with Adam Gase. I mean, it's Adam Gase. He screws everybody over. But so he's a good quarterback. So now giving him like a real number one weapon, along with AJ Brown, who I think is a really, really, really strong number two, probably the best number two in the game. I mean, this offense is gonna score points. I mean, there's no denying it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not going to act like that the Saints were a team that had a really good offense and not a good defense, and they were still going to the playoffs every year. So, I mean, there have been instances where they proved that you don't necessarily need a good defense to go to the playoffs. Now, you need a good defense to go all the way, but um, I think that right now that just with the addition of Julio Jones, I think that that might be already like best receiving core in the NFL,
Yeah,
close. And then with Derrick Henry, um, and I mean everyone likes to joke around that all the Titans do is run halfback dive and stuff, and just give it to Derrick Henry. But there was also a lot of play action that they would run, and with AJ Brown, it was working really well. So you can imagine with Julio, it's going to be even better.
yeah. I love this move by the Titans. I really do. Um, the Titans, I think, are a team that nobody really respects still in terms of like a team that could maybe make a Super Bowl. I think they could. I really do. Even though I do think their defense needs to be better, but I think in the perfect world, I think the Titans can definitely make a run. I really do. Like they're a good team.
I mean, they did it a couple years back, ran into the Chiefs. So
Yeah, exactly. So they're gonna make the playoffs. I mean it's a two-man race for the AFC South right now for between the Colts and the Titans. I think they both make the playoffs, so it's not that big of a deal who wins the division in my opinion. But you know, I mean, good for the Titans and Atlanta is basically now. I think after this year, probably will get rid of Matt Ryan. I'm assuming, and just go all in on a rebuild. When they drafted Kyle Pitts, it was pretty much made clear that yeah, they're gonna probably move off Julio because Kyle Pitts will fill that void that
right.
leaving. Although it's a big shoes to fill for Kyle Pitts, but I mean, everyone's saying he was the best prospect in the draft anyway. So I mean, he could do it if he succeeds.
That's
So
an if though. And I mean, even so, it doesn't. It's not like they're going to be competing for anything anyway. They're not going to win the division, and there's too many good teams in the NFC West for them to make a wild card spot. So
yeah, um, I think this could be a year where the Falcons end up with the number three pick again or number four pick, whatever pick they had, four pick I think.
yeah,
So let's get through some b-ball because that was the only football news really. I mean, other news was Aaron Rodgers is not reporting to training camp. I was like, well, yeah, no, duh. I mean that we've been over this. Like that's not
I mean,
something.
yeah, he still wants to be traded. So
So we're not going to talk on that anymore because I mean you can't say much more than we already said. But so Portland now has been eliminated by the Nuggets. Dame had a great playoff again, even though they lost. And Portland let go of Terry Stotts, and so they have a head coaching void to fill. Dame wanted Jason Kidd, but Jason Kidd publicly said he doesn't want the Portland job. So everyone's speculating this might be the end of Dame in Portland. Ooh.
I don't know. I just really hope that Dame does not um go to an already like the Lakers or the Clippers or something.
That's the only team I don't want him to go to is the Lakers. Like, please don't go to the Lakers. Like,
I and I'm not saying like come to the Pelicans, but I'm saying I would like to see him go to a team that's like almost there. That's been like on the cusp of making the playoffs. Maybe they've been around the play-in tournament, but haven't just made it yet. I would like to see him go to a team like that. I mean, of course, the Pelicans are one, um, but there are other teams that are on the cusp of, making the playoffs and just need a piece, and they'll be there.
I
Um,
mean, if on Portland, I'm trading him east, and I'm looking right now. I'm looking at the Bucks, and the Bucks are being destroyed by the Nets without James Harden. So, I mean, they did trade for Drew and all that. I think if they could find a way to trade for Dame, keep Drew, keep Chris, and keep Giannis, and maybe keep Brook, but everyone else is available, and then whatever picks, like, you could just like because they're putting Drew Holiday as the point guard, as a starting point guard. Now he can do it. He's a good player at the point guard position, but he's more of a shooting guard. He's more of a two. Because in New Orleans, that's what he was. He was a two, and he flourished
right.
at that. He's not like the he's not supposed to be the main ball handler, but they're making him do that in Milwaukee. I feel like. So I feel like if you can find a way to trade for Dame, have Dame at the one, Drew at the two, Chris at the three, Giannis at the four, Brook at the five. Now you might be able to compete with the Nets because they're not winning this series against the Nets. Like it's over, basically, in my opinion. Like they're
I
not winning.
mean,
So
yeah.
that'd be if the Bucks really want to win a championship with Giannis, even though he just signed the extension. Still, like if they want to compete because the Nets aren't going away, they need to make another move, and this would be the move, I think, to really say, "Hey, we're going for it."
Yeah, if they could pull that off, I would say that would be good for them. And we'll see. I mean, we'll see, I mean, I guess the Heat could be another team that he could end up going to. That would be interesting with a lot of their guards reportedly might be going to other teams. Though the more I hear reports about players wanting to leave the Heat, the less and less confident I am that the Heat can make another run.
Yeah, I don't know about the Heat. I mean, Chicago would be a fun team because if they're really trying to build something in Chicago because they traded for Vucevic, if they can bring in Dame, you have Dame, Levine, and Vucevic. I mean, there you
I
go.
mean, yeah, that is pretty good.
That'd
I
be
don't know. Yeah, I don't see them keeping him in the West, but I mean, hey, if the Pelicans can get him, go for it. But
I mean, realistically, the Pelicans could. We have the draft picks, but we would have to give up. Okay, we give up Bledsoe, and we probably have to give up Steven Adams and maybe somebody else. Like we're gonna have to give up like a solid amount. But at the end of the day, you get Dame, and if you have Bi and Zion, I mean that's a big three. I mean
yeah, I
that.
mean, if you have BI's on and Dame and the rest of the players that are honestly stepping up, you got Jackson Hayes, you got Kyra, who's been looking good. So I mean, I wouldn't be upset with giving up probably what we'd have to give up. Mostly draft capital, maybe Lonzo, probably Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, I mean it's looking like Lonzo. Looks like it's gonna be a sign and trade deal for Lonzo. That's what I'm hearing. I think Lonzo. I just think that Lonzo's price might be too high for the Pelicans, honestly. And I think they won't be able to come to an agreement on a new contract. So that's gonna be a sign and trade deal to whatever team. And then obviously I think Bledsoe's gone. I don't see him returning. Adams is tricky, man, because like we just signed him to an extension. We got him in the Drew Holiday trade. I like him a lot. He's not a scorer. That's not his job. But
What?
defense, rebounding, he does well. I'd keep him around. I really would.
I don't see why the Pelicans would. I mean, outside of Damian Lillard, I don't see anybody that they would want to give up Steven Adams for. Like if Portland's like, we'll give you Damian Lillard for this, and Steven Adams, I can see the Pelicans pulling the trigger on that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, why would you get rid of a guy? Because as much as good as Zion is, Zion's rebounding comes in offensive rebounding mostly. I mean,
Right.
yeah, he'll defensively rebound, but he's mostly put backs and stuff like that. Bi's not a rebounder, so that's the role that Steven Adams fills.
The only way I think we move off Adams is if the Pelicans believe that Jackson Hayes is ready to be that starting center. That's the only way I see us moving off Steven Adams. It depends on Jackson Hayes, and I don't think he is necessarily. Now he had a great season. Like after he was benched, and then like later in
Oh
the
yeah,
second
he
half,
did.
he came in, he was great. So he has improved, but I don't know if the Pelicans think he's ready to be a starting center though. So that's the only reason why I'd keep Adams around. So,
I mean,
but
regardless, like I'm saying right now, I mean, if we can get Dame Lillard, I'd be willing to give up Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, and maybe some draft capital.
if you
If
can
they want Steven Adams, that would be the only person I'd be willing to give up Steven Adams for. Every other player, I'd say no, we keep Steven Adams.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably just wishful thinking that we could get Dame, but I really, I mean,
I
it's
mean, this
oh
is even assuming that Dame leaves Portland. It's not even
yeah,
confirmed. I mean, Dame. I mean, there have been multiple series where Dame loses like this, and he goes back to Portland. I mean, and that's something that we all respect about Dame, but at the same time,
Well,
if Portland's not going to be giving you the help that you need,
Damian Lillard is the Bradley Beal of the West because Bradley
yeah.
Beal has been faithful to Washington to whatever degree, and like Dame is the same way. But like at some point, you would want to win, So I think
Which is frustrating
it's
though.
time to move on. I really do, and I like Dame in Portland. I feel bad for Portland because Portland is a good team, but what Portland struggles with is the same thing all other small market teams struggle with, Pelicans included, is getting free agents. Like no one wants to play in Portland, not because the team's bad or the organization's bad. It's just Portland's not a very attractive city for NBA players to live in. Like it's not like a place they want to go.
I mean, it's frustrating because I mean, if I was an NBA player, I honestly wouldn't want to be living in Los Angeles or New York. Like that's not two places that I would even want to live in.
Traffic's horrible, man. Oof. But I
But I
mean, if I
mean,
was a player, I wouldn't look at the city. I would look at, okay, which teams are good and which teams, like what good team can I get to? You see what I'm saying? Like that's the way I would operate, not necessarily see now that the Knicks made the playoffs, everyone's going, okay, now everybody wants to go to the Knicks now. The Knicks okay had 1 year of success after 8 years or whatever many years of being sucky. I'm not going to the Knicks still. Like they need to be consistent with it.
right.
I went
If I was Dame, really, I would look at, okay, I've seen how people are receptive to superstars who go to already really good teams. They usually aren't receptive of it. So let me go to a team that's not necessarily a super team yet. I can go there. I know my skills. I know I can make them better. So let me find a team like that. We take them on a deep playoff run.
perfect example. I got a perfect example. Chris Paul to Phoenix.
Right.
Perfect example. He wanted to play with D-Book, and Phoenix is a team that's like one piece away from being really good. And like, he's like, Phoenix may not be like the best city, maybe not the biggest market in the world, but like it's a team that can be
And
really
now look, they're the two
fun.
seed. They just got rid of the Lakers. So I mean,
Yeah. I mean, they're my right now. I'm rooting for they're my team right now to go to the finals for the West. Like I'm rooting for them hard. Like I'm on that bandwagon.
yeah. I mean, yeah, really.
And D-Book is having a great postseason. His first postseason, by the way. And Chris Paul, that shoulder, I'm not even worried about it anymore. He's doing his thing. And DeAndre Ayton,
Yeah.
he's come along. So and they won last night. I think last
Yeah,
night.
they won last night 122 to 105 against the Nuggets.
Yeah, so I like the Suns to go to the finals.
I'd
From
be so I would be happy.
sadly it'll probably be against the Nets. And I don't know if they're gonna win that series, but I mean I'm rooting for Chris Paul to get a ring, man. It's time.
Man, it's crazy because I think that the conference finals, well, we'll have to see how the Clippers Jazz goes out. But if everything continues as it is right now, we would have Suns, either Clippers or Jazz. But in the East, you'd have Nets and the Hawks.
Ooh, I like the Hawks though. The Hawks are having a great series. I'm rooting for the Hawks
Who
East too, because like Trae Young, man, dude is just
who
nasty.
would you say right now is having a better playoff for the first playoff? Trae Young or Devin Booker? See, it's tough
That's
because they're both doing really good. And you could of course make the argument that um the Suns beat the Lakers and Trae Young only beat the Nets, but still they're both putting up really good numbers.
so the way. Okay, I think if you were to ask me like who is the most confident of the two, like who do you think is playing with the most confidence? I would say Trae Young is, just because the way like he was like messing with the Knicks crowd and all that, and then like he's just trash talking galore. Like he was trash talking in game one, like. So
Right.
I don't know. Like it's either one really. They're both having amazing playoffs. Like I mean, you're either one you pick, you're not wrong. I mean, like it's that close. Like they're both in their first playoff series. Like it's pretty amazing. Like you know, and the Hawks are a team. I think whether or not they make the finals or the conference finals, whatever, they might get one more star in there. I mean, sheesh,
Yeah.
they could be a dangerous team. And I mean, listen, he beat the Knicks, okay? like, that's not that surprising.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like
I
That's
don't
what I'm saying. A lot of people would say Devin Booker because he just beat the Lakers, but at the same time, it's still putting up those kinds of numbers. And I mean, they're getting ready to play. Well, I mean, they've already played one game against the 76ers, beat them.
yeah.
So I mean, honestly, at that point, I'd say if both of them get to the conference finals, it'll be pretty impressive.
Yeah, it would be. And I think Phoenix has the best chance to go to the finals because I mean the
Right.
Hawks face the Nets, and I don't know. I mean, they
I
might.
mean, I mean,
It's
I'm sure that a lot of the basketball sports world would be happy, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, you never know, but
I don't know. Can I rant for a second? It's not really a
yeah,
rant.
go ahead.
Like I'm gonna come off as a real hater right now, and I don't mean to come off as a hater, but I'm gonna come off as a hater. Okay, so Tom Thibodeau won the Coach of the Year for like the whole NBA, right? And it's voted on by the media. The media votes. Okay, he won Coach of the Year, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Did a great job. I mean, the Knicks made the playoffs in the first time in the last 8 years. That's a huge feat. That's he should be commended for that, and he deserves to be a candidate for Coach of the Year. But Monty Williams just led the Suns, who had been in the playoffs either for 8 years or whatever many years it's been. They now go to the playoffs. They beat the defending champions. And I think they're going to probably end up going to the conference finals and maybe even the finals. To me, Monty Williams should be coach of the year. The media is so biased toward the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like, just because
Even
the
when
Knicks
they're
made the
bad, yeah.
playoffs, it's like, okay, he has to be coach of the year. Like, no, like, actually look at it. Like, I would have voted, my vote would have gone to Monty. Like, because the Coaches Association made Monty their coach of the year. Like, he won that award for the Coaches Association. And I think that's right. Like, Monty to me is the coach of the year this year. I really do. And I
Yeah,
mean, I just I just don't see how Tom Thibodeau, like, you just got bushwhacked by the Hawks. Like,
I mean, the only thing I could think is like the Phoenix Suns are definitely a better team than the Knicks, but you could say because of Tom Thibodeau's coaching, he still brought a lesser team to the playoffs. Which I mean, you
but
know,
it's not as good as the West. That's the
right? Okay, I understand that, but I mean, playoffs are still playoffs. You
right.
know,
I just my point is I feel like if you lose in the first round, you can't be coach of the year, in my opinion. Like, to me, like, that's not, because if you were coach of the year, you wouldn't have lost in the first round.
well, I mean, don't they usually just base it off of regular season?
Yeah, but I think they should include playoffs.
I, I mean, I guess,
I mean, they vote
but
too early on that. They vote too early on that, in my opinion. But I don't know.
I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but that's not who I would give it to. My vote would have gone to Monty because I think I don't know. Anyway, so my Mavericks got eliminated by the Clippers.
Though I mean, it was a close series, and I mean, it's painfully obvious that Luca needs help right
Yeah,
now.
I find it hilarious though, and this is why I'm not high on the Clippers right now. I find it hilarious. It took 6 games. It took 6 games for the Clippers to realize, hey, maybe Paul George and Kawhi should double Luca. I like how it took 6 games to figure that out. And even in Game 7, Luca went off for, like, what, 40 points, whatever it was.
Yeah, like he went
Like,
off.
so, like, the only reason why the Clippers won that series was because of Kawhi. That's the only reason why they won. Like,
No facts, yeah.
Porzingis, to me, Porzingis, it's been reported that Porzingis is not happy with his role with the Mavericks. He feels like an afterthought. I'm like, well, newsflash, bro, you're playing like an afterthought. Like, you're not playing well, bro.
And not even that, you're playing with probably the next guy who has real GOAT potential, which is people are saying right now. I mean, he might be the next person that we start including in the conversation of, you know, top basketball players of all time. I mean, we're only in the third year, but I mean, just look at what he's doing to the league. He's really taking the league by storm, which is something that LeBron did, which is something that Michael did, which is something that Kobe did. So I mean, he's really the first guy. Zion Williamson is doing it, but not to the level of degree that Luka has been doing it. And it's just the fact that he has no hope. And whenever you're a big guy who doesn't want to rebound, right? First off, that's already a problem. And second off, like he doesn't necessarily make good decisions. Like there's clips him going on a fast break. He could pass it to a guy for an easy layup, but instead he tries to take a three and misses.
Like, he's a 7 foot plus guy. Why are you on the perimeter? Why
Exactly.
why are you just shooting threes? You should be in the paint. You're probably the tallest guy on the court. Why are you not in the paint? Being physical. Like
I mean, the only guy who's allowed to do stuff like that is Kevin Durant. That's the only guy who's allowed that tall to be on the perimeter.
like okay, you can. I'm not saying you can't shoot a three every now and again. I mean, but like, damn, like, be in the paint.
Like why on a fast break whenever it's very obvious that all you have to do is pass it to a guy and he can make the layup because there's only one guy. It's a 2-on-1 situation. That's very easily a bucket that can be made. Why all of a sudden are you stopping at the 3-point line to say, here, let me take this shot? And you're gonna miss it on top. Like if you would have made it, nobody would be talking about it.
Yeah,
But you missed it. So I mean,
I will say though, Tim Hardaway Jr. He had a great series. I thought he played really well. I
yeah,
think,
he was more of a second fiddle than Kristaps was
and see that
that
can't
series.
work that way. He's Tim Hardaway. Be your number three or your number four.
Right.
You
I
need
don't
a legit number two. Like they can keep Porzingis. If they decide to keep Porzingis, they can keep Porzingis. But you need to get another star in there. You need to get somebody else.
Dallas needs to figure out something.
They need to do
And I
something.
mean, I don't think that they can't, but they definitely need to put somebody with Luca because, I would hate for Dallas to have the situation where Luca, I mean, I don't think Luca would do it, but Luca is so good that he just wants to go somewhere else where he knows that he can win a championship.
He's gonna sign the max extension, I think, this offseason. I think he pretty much said that. So he's not going away anytime soon.
Maybe not now, but if it continues to where they continually don't give him enough help, we could see something like Anthony Davis where he forces his way out, goes somewhere and then wins a ring, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, and I thought if Dallas could have beaten the Clippers, I would have had them as like besides the Suns, like the team that I would say could go to the finals. Like I think they could have done it. You know what I mean? Because this was the first year I feel like the West is completely wide open. Like anybody could go.
Yeah, I mean, with the Lakers, being out
Yeah,
immediately, which wow, I was so happy about that. I was watching the last game the whole time. I was like, let's
yeah.
go.
Oh man, it was a great night. Great night.
It was so nice. It was so nice to see and it's not just the principle of LeBron or the Lakers. I always like playoffs where the defending champs go out in the first round. It's always fun to see because it's always unexpected. And then at that point, you're like, oh, we're definitely going to see something different than last year. See,
Yeah,
whenever like,
we had 4 straight years of Cavaliers Warriors. I was so tired of it at that point. Like I
yeah,
was so
you're so tired to see it. And then not only that, like, okay, LeBron leaves the Cavs. You still have the Warriors in it the next year against Toronto. And then after that, LeBron's back in the finals. I mean, I know it was Cavs Warriors, but really it was LeBron Warriors, because he was the reason that team was even getting to the playoffs, much less the finals. So it was really LeBron Warriors. We had that for 4 straight years, and then LeBron leaves. Warriors still make the finals with Kawhi Toronto. They win, and then now you have LeBron in the finals again. So
with
it's
who were a dynasty at kind of a dynasty at one point.
it's to finally see another team. However, this is the problem. It's still going to be a super team from the East more than likely. I mean, I would put that as a 98% chance
Yeah.
now that Milwaukee has gone down 2-0, and both not even close scores. The first one was closer, being 115-107, but yesterday not even close, 125-86.
Yeah.
Like it would take a miracle right now for Milwaukee to do anything.
Yeah.
Um, I,
You know,
I don't know what team would have a better chance, the Hawks or the 76ers.
I think they both get smoked. But I'm okay with whoever wins this year at this point because either the franchise has never won before or they haven't won in like 20, 30 plus years. So like a
Right,
fan
a
base
long
that
time.
hasn't won in a while is gonna win. And I'm happy about that. Like that's parity. Like that's even though they're super teams, it's parity because like
Yeah.
a fan
But
base
I mean,
yeah,
I really what really needs to start happening is teams that are not super teams winning the finals. Because the more that happens, the less and less and less that superstars will be incentivized to go for it. I mean, look at it. Look at how long you had super teams winning. I mean, you had Miami winning, then here comes the Warriors. And I mean, the Warriors were built correctly, but still a super team.
and in
And
Cleveland
then
in a way because when LeBron went to Cleveland, you had Kyrie Irving, who was a budding all star, and you
Kevin Love
brought
was there
Kevin
too, who
Love.
was better than he is now. And I mean, Toronto was kind of a super team as well, though not as much. But I mean, I just really want to see these teams that are not super teams win. You know, if Phoenix could win this year, if a team like Memphis could win in the next couple of years, which is obviously not a super
And a
team.
team like Dallas, they had that one season in 2011 with Dirk, but like,
I mean, realistically, the more and more that we're seeing teams like the Warriors, the Lakers, and now the Nets, who is probably one of the most ridiculous super teams of all time. Because I mean, Miami with the big three, Dwayne Wade was good. Chris Bosh was obviously not on par with the other two, but this is realistically a big three where everybody's on like the same level.
yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, it's good for the league if a team like Utah wins or Denver wins or
or
Phoenix,
Phoenix wins.
or even if Atlanta somehow wins or Philly wins, like it's good for the league because now it's like these small market teams are potentially gonna win a champ. Like that's good.
And I mean, we keep talking about all these all stars coming to the Pelicans, coming to all these teams, but until a small market team wins the big one, it's just not going to happen because no all star that is looking for a ring is like, yeah, let me go to New Orleans, yeah, let me go to Orlando, yeah, let me go to Milwaukee,
Yeah,
until it happens. And as long as we have teams like the Brooklyn Nets, as long as we have teams like whatever LeBron is about to make, it's just not going to happen.
yeah.
It's frustrating.
It is very frustrating. It's making it hard to watch basketball sometimes. Like sometimes a game would be on, but it'd be like the Nets against like I don't know, let's say Nets and Celtics. That's like the playoffs, right? Like I don't want to watch that because I know the Nets are gonna win. Like what's the point of me sitting down and watching it? I watched the Mavs and Clippers. I watched Phoenix and LA because I knew LA was hobbled. I figured well it'd be a closer game, and it was. Like it was. Phoenix had a good series, and then the Clippers Mavs went 7 games. Like that was a fun series to watch, even though my Mavs lost. It was still a fun series to watch. It was still competitive. Like that's what you need. Like competitive series. Like you don't want these blowout series, 4 game series. It's not
No,
fun.
it's so frustrating. I mean, even the Memphis Utah series was more fun to watch than the last Nets series.
Yeah.
Like, and 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 I don't know, like some of the people on the Nets acting like, oh, we've got the whole world behind us. It's like the only people you have rooting for you right now is Nets fans. Like honestly.
I mean, I was rooting for the Nets over the Lakers. If the Lakers were gonna make the finals, I was
But
gonna.
now that the Lakers are out of the picture, now everybody's rooting for like,
But if it's the Clippers and Nets, I might root for the Nets over the Clippers though. If that ends up happening. But like I don't hate the Nets. Like I really don't. That's the only super team I never really hated. Like I like watching the Nets. They're fun. Like
I don't hate the Nets. I hate the
yeah,
idea of super teams. I just really hate the idea of super teams.
yeah. I mean, Blake Griffin. I mean, I feel bad for Detroit, man. Blake Griffin's like had wanted no part of that franchise, and then like
I
he
mean, can you
battled.
blame him though?
Nah, and then he goes to Brooklyn, is dunking over Giannis and like doing all this crazy stuff. Like it's hilarious. I find
Yeah.
it funny. It's like, but I mean, it is what it is. Um, so Orlando fired their coach, Steve Clifford. And also, I don't know if we talked about this last week. I don't know if it happened before the show last week, but Danny Ainge, GM of the Celtics, he's
Yeah,
been
no, it happened after we went
yeah.
off.
And so Brad Stevens is no longer the coach of the Celtics. He's moved up to like general manager position basically. So they're looking for a head coach. So there's a couple of already some vacancies. Again, Jason Kidd out of the Portland job. I wonder if Kidd wants one of the um Orlando job or the Boston job. I would assume if he wants a job, it'd be Boston because Orlando is just in a rebuild. Boston is just got to figure out what other star they're going to bring in because they're going to probably trade Kimba because Kimba's been a disappointment, honestly, for them. So, there's been talk of Dame maybe going to Boston too. Like that trade could happen. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do in Boston, but they're going to be doing some moves for sure.
See, I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't be upset if he went to Boston, but I'd be a bit frustrated if he went to Boston. Like I like Dame. I don't know. I believe in Dame to go to a team that
Team
is
with
not
Jalen
necessarily
Brown,
established.
Tatum, and Dame would be a pretty fun team to watch. Like that'd be a good team.
I mean, yeah, it would, but I mean, I don't know. I just hate super teams so much. Like I would rather
If I
not
call
see
it a
it.
super team, though, that's not really a super team. That's just because Jalen Brown's an all star and Jason Tatum's an all star and Dame's an all star, but it's not like It's not like Jalen Brown's gonna be this all NBA player because he's
Well,
not.
I think Jason Tatum will. Jason Tatum will, and you're gonna have Dame Lillard, who's already there. And I mean, nothing's stopping somebody else from wanting to go. I don't know. I mean, I would rather see him on the Celtics than the Lakers, but
I'm saying. Like, I feel like if he's gonna go anywhere to form like a really good team, I would say Boston would be a fun place.
and I mean, how hypocritical are Lakers fans? Because the minute that Dame Lillard got eliminated, Lakers fans are like, oh, he should come to the Lakers. But then at the same time, you're gonna complain about super teams. I mean, I complain about super teams, but at the same time, I'm not advocating for the Pelicans to make a super team. I'm advocating for the Pelicans to get another all-star.
Yeah, like we're not asking the Pelicans to get like Kevin Durant. Like, I mean, like we were talking last week, like De'Aaron Fox or somebody. Like, at least to make us a playoff team, like a playoff team that can win a round or two. Like, that's all we're asking for, honestly.
Right.
Like,
But I mean,
you know,
it's really like, okay, so you have a problem with super teams, but then all of a sudden, whenever you have the chance to make one, oh yeah, let's do it. It's like, I mean, let's be honest. If Dame Lillard goes to the Lakers every single year for like the next 3 or 4 years, it will be Lakers Nets in the like there will literally
I
be
know
no
what's
point to
happening.
watch basketball.
I'm telling you what's gonna happen. He's gonna go to the Lakers next year. They're gonna make the playoffs. There'll be a 2 seed. AD's gonna get hurt again. LeBron's gonna be old, dealing with his injuries.
But even so, okay, but even if AD gets hurt, he still has Dame. You know, he still has Dame. So I mean, it's not like it's gonna matter whether or not AD gets hurt.
Here's the problem with the Lakers. The Lakers don't need another star. What the Lakers need to do is get a better bench and get better role players. That's what they need to do. They need to get rid of Kyle Kuzma because he's trash. They,
Yes.
they need to let go of. I mean, Marcus Gasol is just not happy over there, so they could probably get rid of him. Although I like Marcus Gasol a lot. Um, Andre Drummond is not. I mean, Andre Drummond. He benched Andre Drummond for the last like 2 games of the series against the Suns. Like, so how valuable is Drummond anyway? Like, what's the point? What was the point of getting him?
Well,
Like stuff like that. Like the Lakers make no sense. Rick Vogel needs to be fired as a coach. I don't like him as a coach. I never liked him as a coach. He's not really coaching. LeBron's running the team.
yeah, I
So
was about to say he's not even really coaching.
that's what I'm saying. LeBron is the player coach. They should just come out and announce it because we all know that's what's happening. Frank Vogel's just a puppet head.
Yeah.
Like honest to God, like
I don't know.
Lakers just need a better roster. Anyway.
I mean, all they really need is for AD not to get injured all the time, and I mean that's really his MO. And I mean, I think if you just get rid of one of Andre Drummond and Marcus Gasol
And Schroeder too.
and
You're not
Schroeder.
getting. He's not getting 100 million. That's out the window.
Not after that
No one's getting
series.
100 million. No one's.
I mean,
He's lucky to get 30 million at this point. Like
he already wasn't going to get it, but after that series, there's
I
no
wouldn't
way he's getting that kind of money.
I wouldn't give it to him.
No.
Lakers just need a better roster. That's just the end of the day.
I mean, honestly, look, if the Lakers would just, and I know that they really can't do this because they're always in the playoffs, but if they could build through the draft, if they could, whenever they get their draft picks, pick a guy who you think is going to be good, let him learn, let him sit.
To be honest, what they should have did was they should have kept Rondo. They should have kept Danny Green, although Danny Green was a meme for a while. But they should have kept
keep
him
him.
better than what they have. I mean, they should have kept like Dwight Howard. They should have probably kept them around.
I mean, they should have gotten rid of Kyle Kuzma long ago, but they've kept them.
They're all in the playoffs still. All the people the Lakers got rid of, they're in the playoffs still. What does that tell you?
Lakers made the wrong move.
That's Jesus. So
I don't know. I mean, it's good. It's good to see, but I mean, honestly, I don't know. They need to do something, and anything, please God, anything but getting Damian Lillard. There are other ways to be good. I mean, you're just coming off of a championship. It can't be that difficult to build another championship caliber team.
The West is pretty even because like each good team has like 2 stars, right? In Denver, when healthy, you have Jamal Murray, Jokic. And in Utah, you have Gobert and you have Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? And
Phoenix, you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker. But the difference between these teams is that they have depth and they have really good role players.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver, you got
they lose Murray, and yet they're still playing like solid basketball. Like they didn't really lose a step without him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's really like they just I really feel like the Lakers went all in, which I mean I can't blame them because they have LeBron, but they went all in. And then now, whenever LeBron eventually leaves, they're really gonna feel the problem. Like I really think after LeBron leaves the Lakers, they're gonna be like one of bottom two teams in the West, honestly.
Yeah, the Lakers thing is only uh, a current thing. It's not gonna be a long term thing. Like, and I said
Because
whenever the AD trade happened, didn't we say it? Like, I said the point like the Lakers won the trade for the present, like, because they're gonna be contending for a championship, and they won a championship, right? So they won the trade. Okay, 5 years from now, if we still have Zion and we actually build a team around them that can make the playoffs consistently with all the draft picks we have and whatever we bring in, like we're gonna be better than the Lakers at that point.
yeah,
Like
and I
5 years
mean,
from now, the Pelicans will probably be better than the Lakers.
honestly, once LeBron leaves, I don't know how long AD is gonna want to stick around.
If I'm AD, I
You
wouldn't
know,
want to stick around. I'd go somewhere else.
so and I mean, I know a lot of people have said he wants to go to Chicago, his hometown, and I mean, if Chicago has built a good team by then, and he wants to go there, I'm sure that they would take him.
I'm not buying
But yeah,
Chicago.
I really think once LeBron leaves, I think that team is just gonna fall apart. I really think that they're gonna be bottom three seed in the West for a few years because they really don't have any draft capital. They don't have any bench. They don't have any depth. I just don't see that team being good when LeBron finally leaves.
Yeah, because like there's nobody. Like I don't even know who the number three option is for the Lakers. I can't tell you. Is it Schroeder? Is it KCP? Like who is it? Like I can't tell you because they're so inconsistent. It's like I don't know who else to could depend on other than AD and LeBron. But you can't depend on AD because he's always hurt. So like, what are you supposed to do if you're LeBron?
And I mean, is LeBron finally digressing? Like, is it finally happening? Like, I don't know.
Not
I
all
mean,
the.
I don't think we can say that just because he lost for the first time in the first round, but I mean, it's possible.
I mean, I think LeBron. I think LeBron was just tired because like they didn't have a long off season at all after the bubble, and I really do feel like that did play a part of it in it as
Yeah,
well.
I agree.
So I
I
mean,
don't, I don't think he's necessarily digressing, but I also wouldn't be
I think
surprised if he comes out and doesn't play as well
yeah.
as he has.
Well, he's depending on AD to be the guy. Like LeBron is really trying to be the second option on that team at this point. He wants
But I
AD.
mean, but I mean, again, the problem with AD is when you're so injury prone, you just can't rely on somebody to be the number. I mean, look at the 76ers. Whenever their number one guy is always hurt, you know, uh,
Yeah, like that's the problem with the 76ers. That they have a good roster. They have depth. Joel Embiid is not a guy you can depend on because he's always hurt.
and Ben Simmons is not a guy that you can rely on to be a number one option either. So I mean,
Well, I mean, I defend Ben Simmons in terms of the fact that he doesn't shoot the ball. Like that's not his game. I defend him in that. Like if that's not your game, that's not your game. Don't.
no, I agree,
But
but
it
at the same time,
also
he's not a guy who can be a number one option.
yeah, but that also does kind of limit you though if Joel's out. Like when Joel's in, he can be like just a point guard guy, like can move the ball around and maybe make a layup or two. Like you know what I mean? Not necessarily a number one scorer because that's not what Ben Simmons
Right,
is. So
right. I know. So
so
I mean,
Philly really needs another person there too if they want to really contend.
I mean,
But
these players, Joel Embiid, AD, something needs to be figured out about them because they are top level players. I mean, Joel Embiid before he got hurt
was
was probably going to be the MVP this year.
yeah.
AD has been a very important part of the Lakers, but now all of a sudden they get injured. Now Lakers get bounced first round. 76ers are looking like they could get bounced second round by the Hawks, no less. So I mean, these players need to figure out something, or the league needs to stop throwing so much money at them. I don't know.
The league ain't gonna do nothing about it.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, I do want to touch on some college football. So I think Nick Saban just got his extension. I think it's going through 2028 or 2020, whatever it is, like late
And he
2020.
turned 70. He turned 70 this year.
Yeah, so Nick Saban's still going to be in Alabama for forever, basically.
That means Alabama is still going to be Alabama.
What I want to touch on, there was video that surfaced yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. Arch Manning, son of Cooper Manning, went to visit Clemson. Now, Arch Manning at this point, I believe, is going to be a junior in high school this year. this upcoming season. I believe he's a junior in high school, and he's already making
Yeah.
college visits, which is smart on his part because he's the number one for his class. He's the number one quarterback prospect in that class. Okay,
Right.
so he's going on college visits, and he visited Clemson, and he had a nice little fake and throw. And I'm thinking, like, listen, I would love for him to go to LSU. I would love for him to go to maybe Ole Miss. That's where Eli went, or go to Tennessee. That's where Peyton went. I would love for him to do something like that. But I mean, here's the deal. I feel like it's either going to be Alabama or Clemson. But if I'm Arch Manning, I would go. If I go to Alabama, although Nick Saban's amazing and we're gonna win, and I'm gonna be a top draft pick, but I'm not gonna play as much. I feel like I'm gonna have to wait my turn, right?
I mean,
But
to be fair, he's probably going to be a top draft pick regardless of where he goes.
my point. But if he wants to, I'm saying if he wants to play like freshman, sophomore year, like he wants to be on the field, like I'm saying, like Alabama, you might have to wait your turn. In Clemson, what they did with Trevor Lawrence is when Trevor Lawrence stepped in, like I think sophomore year he played, sophomore, junior, and senior year he played. So I feel like Clemson, you have a shot. Like if they're gonna play you, you know what I'm saying? I would like.
I mean, if he definitely wants to play
I say
all
he
4 years and he needs to go to Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, a team like that.
for sure. I mean, so I'm excited for Archman. I can't wait. Like we tank for Tua, tank for Trevor, whatever. Tank for Manning. It's happening. It's gonna happen. Tank for Manning.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Low key,
it's gonna happen.
low key. I think the Saints should tank for Manning. I'm just saying. 5 years from now, whenever he's able to be in the draft, by that point, we don't know what the state of the NFL is gonna be, what the Saints are gonna look like.
I'd
Just
be
take.
okay with it. I'd be okay with it.
That'd be amazing. Archie Manning. Now you have Archie Manning. Let's go.
I'd be willing to suck for a year to get a quarterback like that.
I mean, Jesus, because I don't know how good we're going to be in 5 years. I don't know who our quarterback's going to be at that point, what our roster's going to look like. Are we still going to have the AK-41? I don't know. We're going to have Michael Thomas? I don't know. At that
Who
point,
knows?
I don't know what our team's going to look like.
Yeah, who knows?
I would love for him to go to the Saints. If I mean, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
But,
and I'm sure the family would be happy about that.
well, yeah, I mean, that's his hometown. New Orleans is his hometown. Like, shit, play for a hometown team. Who wouldn't want that? I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Sean Payton's still going to be there in 5 years. I don't know about that. I mean, because at that point,
I
Sean
don't know.
Payton
We'll see.
for 20 plus years at that point. Like, I don't know what's going to happen if he retires or, hopefully he's still around, but, So, yeah, but Arch Manning, definitely. I'm excited for it. I'm like, that's what I'm going to care about college football is getting Arch Manning's in college football. I'm like, all right, I'm back on it. Like, let's go. I root for Louisiana guys, and he's a Louisiana guy. Okay, so I'm rooting for him. Got to root.
Yeah, gotta root.
No matter where he goes, he could go to Alabama. I'm a root for him. He could go to wherever. Like he could go to Harvard. I'm a root for him. Like, I mean, Fitzmagic went to Harvard, so I mean, hell, I mean, it can happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got for today. I don't know. You got anything else you want to add?
What's your predictions for the Clippers Jazz series? Since that's the only series that we hadn't seen start yet. We've all seen how the other ones might shake out, but this is the only one we haven't seen shake out yet.
Okay, predictions. I don't know. I feel like the Clippers are more ready because the Jazz, no disrespect to the Grizzlies, they had an easier series.
Right.
And they have had rest. The Clippers didn't, but I feel like the Clippers are the better team, better roster maybe. I'm going to say Clippers. Now, this is if Kawhi plays the way he did in the last 2 games against the Mavericks. If he plays like that, I'm going to say Clippers in 6.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say Jazz in 6.
Okay. I hope it's Jazz in 6, but I mean,
I think Jazz in 6 wins. I think we may see something similar to the beginning of the Mavs Clippers series, but instead of it just being Luka and then faltering towards the end, I think the Jazz will be able to close it out.
Here's the thing though, like with the Jazz is that like Porzingis kind of shrunk down, like he kind of was not there, non-existent. Rudy Gobert is not non-existent, so he never really was, never really is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And Rudy Gobert is not one of those guys. He knows his role. He knows that he's a defense player first.
You have Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that the Jazz are going to win the series in 6 games. This isn't me just like trolling, be like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go opposite you. Like, I honestly think that the Jazz are going to win this in 6. And honestly, I think it's going to be Phoenix, Utah in the finals. I mean, what a finals that will be.
I hope so. I mean, I think It's going to depend on if the Clippers can stop Donovan Mitchell. I feel like that's what's going to come down to. I think at the end, or at least in Game 6, the Clippers finally figured out how to get to Luca a little
To get
bit.
to Luca.
If they
Yeah.
do that earlier
But I
against
mean,
the Jazz,
even
I don't know.
so,
I
if
would,
they can shut down Donovan Mitchell, you still have a whole team. It's not like with the Mavericks, if you could shut down Luca, you basically win. If you shut down Donovan Mitchell, there's still a whole team
right.
that is the Jazz. So I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
I don't know. It could go either way. It could go either way. Um, but we're both picking 6 games, but I think 6 games is probably right to whoever wins. Um,
right.
rooting for the Jazz to win, but I just
Yeah, definitely rooting for the Jazz.
my
I mean,
heart is saying
honestly,
Jazz, but my brain is telling me Clippers. I don't know. It's like
both heart and brain are telling me Jazz right now. I mean, Jazz have been rested. You know, they've had some time to get ready for the Clippers or the Mavs, but I mean, you know, they've had time to study their opponent. They've had time to rest. I mean, I know they did have an easy series, but I mean, still, you know,
yeah,
I think they should all be but ready for the Clippers. And I think by the times the Clippers figure it out against the Jazz, it will be but too late.
yeah, very fair. But we're all rooting for the Suns at this point, so it really don't matter. It goes,
Honestly, if I'm honestly sleeping, if somehow Milwaukee can figure out how to turn it around, which against the Nets, which they're just not. Imagine this: a in the East you have Milwaukee and Atlanta in the conference finals, and in the West you have the Jazz and the Suns. I'm just saying,
not bad.
for small market teams, that is literally the best possible scenario. It's not going to happen. That's best possible scenario.
But I mean, the Nets, although they're in New York, they really are like a second, a small market team because like everyone talks about the Knicks, like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, but
it's still a big market because it's New York, but like they act like a small market team in a way. A small
small
market
market team,
star.
most super team we've seen in a long time. You know, give and take.
I think one of the biggest what ifs in NFL, NBA history is if Kevin Durant would have never left the Thunder.
I think another one is if they would have let Chris Paul go to the Lakers.
Mm, interesting.
That's another big what if. I mean, yeah, if he would have never left Oklahoma City, then yeah, that is wow. I mean, Warriors are still good, but
Thunder Warriors Western Finals, that won 7 games, I believe, right?
yeah,
So the Thunder blew a 3-1 lead. So if they would, I think the Thunder one of those years, one of those 4 years, I should say, the
would
Warriors
have made it.
would have made it. I think that would have been interesting. I think that is a big what if. Like, what if he stayed?
Yeah,
Russ would have stayed for sure. And then like Paul George would never probably. Well, maybe they still would have gotten Paul George. Maybe I don't know.
I mean maybe, but
But that'd be an interesting thing. I just think about that because I am. I've been rooting for the Mavs more recently than the Thunder. The Thunder is really my second favorite team, but because they kind of suck now, I kind of don't root for them as openly anymore. Although I'm still rooting for them, I'm just not as proud about it. You know what I mean? But like I
yeah,
just think about that. Like damn, like they had Harden, Durant, and Westbrook at one point, and like that all went to hell. Like damn,
and they don't even have a chip to show for it. Not even one.
not even one. They have one. They have one finals appearance, and that was against the Heat. So big what if, I feel like.
Big what if. A lot of what ifs.
A lot of what ifs. Anyway, I think that's it for today. It was a good show. I thought we brought
Good
our
show.
game.
Yeah, not a lot of NFL, but I mean, to be fair, there will not be a lot of NFL going forward. I mean, I feel like the next big NFL news is going to be the Aaron Rodgers decision, but
Yeah.
that's even assuming that this happens this season.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, we still do have a couple situations that we really don't know what's going to happen. But a lot of that is just which quarterback is going to start week one,
Yeah.
and of course, Deshaun Watson, what's going to happen with that? But that's a long term
I would say like
thing.
95% of the league is probably set right now to get.
Yeah,
Like I don't see much more happening. Big news
I
wise.
mean, I honestly, outside of Aaron Rodgers, the other big name is Zach Ertz.
But that has died down. Like I don't know if he's gonna get moved at this point. Like I don't know what's happening with him. I'm not hearing
Right.
anything, so I don't know. I would have thought in the Carson Wentz trade they would have included him, and like the Colts would have said we want Ertz too. But like I don't know. Like, it's interesting.
Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, that's going to be it for us today. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. We'll be back next week.
Do it. Do all of it.
Do all of it. Do it. Just do it. Have a good week.